Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I'm on a financial freedom journey with my family, and I share all about that and more on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about, what are we talking about today? We're talking about my 3-year debt-free anniversary, which is happening on December 31st. We paid off my final student loan on December 31st of 2021. That is 3 years ago almost now. I'm filming this a little bit early, but I just wanted to share a little bit about what I'm feeling and thinking. I have filmed this video for the past 3 years, so I'm excited to share again what has changed, what's the same, and just give you guys like an overview again of our debt-free journey in case you're new here. So in case you are new here, I will start with a brief just back. Let's time travel back. So let's go back to 2017. So what my life looked like in 2017, which feels like literally forever ago. It's so crazy to think about 2017 now that we're almost in 2025. In January of 2017, my husband and I got engaged. We actually got engaged on January 1st, 2017, and my husband put my ring on a credit card. So I don't think I've ever shared that actually. But yes, my engagement ring, which I love and is beautiful, was put on a credit card. So if that tells you anything about what our life looked like back then, everything was put on a credit card pretty much. Got engaged January of 2017 and we were just living life. We were, in debt. We had credit cards, we had our cars. Both of us had car loans on our cars. Like I said, my husband put my engagement ring on a credit card. We didn't really have savings. Up until that point, we had not combined our finances yet. But once we did get engaged, we actually did combine our finances, which I know is maybe controversial a little bit. But once we got engaged and we knew okay, we're doing this, we're engaged, we're gonna get married, whatever. We did combine our finances. By the middle of 2017, all of our finances were combined, and I was like, holy cow, we kind of have a lot of debt. So that kind of started our first debt-free journey, I would say. And it wasn't a full out debt-free journey, but it was kind of out of necessity almost, because we knew we were engaged, we wanted to buy a house. And so we were like, okay, well, we can't buy a house right now because we honestly don't have enough money. We could barely afford our rent for our apartment at that time. So we were like, okay, we need to sort things out. We need to get in a better spot. Middle of 2017 to end of 2017, we were actively paying off credit cards. We paid off my ring quickly. It was not super expensive, but a few $1,000s. We paid that off pretty quickly. We tackled my husband's car. He only had a couple thousand left, so it wasn't a big thing that we had to tackle. My car only had, at that time I was driving a Honda Civic, and it only had a few thousand left. So we tackled the ring, we tackled the cars, and then we also tackled just general credit card debt. So we pretty much had gotten ourselves out of credit card debt at that point. And then we bought our house in March of 2018. So we bought our house then. It was an older home. So I actually should say that was one thing we did right, because we bought an older home that was well within the range of what we were approved for. And so we bought the house in March of 2018. We did a lot of work ourselves. We did a lot of DIYs. I painted the entire inside of the house myself. Literally, I spent a week and a half every single day after work. I actually did take some time off work too to paint the entire inside of the house because it needed it. It was it was a 1960s house. It needed a lot of work, and we did a lot of that ourselves. So 2018, we were still engaged. We actually didn't get married until September of 2018. So we bought our house before we were technically legally married in September. So up until that point, we bought our house, we were qualified. I was happy because I was nervous. That was one of the things. I was really nervous about qualifying for a house because I had 6 figures of student loans, which we hadn't touched at that point. I was actually in grad school in 2017. I graduated in the end of 2017. So during that time of debt payoff and everything, I actually wasn't even paying on my student loans because they were in forbearance because I was back in school. So we basically were on a debt-free journey minus my student loans at that point. Did all of that, bought the house, had the wedding. Our entire wedding was paid for on credit cards. I don't know if I've ever shared that either, or at least fully, but we opened a credit card literally solely for wedding expenses. So at least I hate to even say it this way, but smartly, I guess, we opened a 0% interest card when we started like planning our wedding, and then we racked it up. I think we probably spent $20,000 on our wedding, which, yes, I know is stupid. Okay, we were young. I was younger. I didn't have this community yet. So we got our house, racked up more credit card debt going to our wedding. Our honeymoon was put on a credit card. And then, we just kept living life. Like at that point, we felt pretty content. We had my student loans, which I was honestly just like ignoring at that point. And so I was like, whatever, we'll figure it out eventually or not. But we had over $1,000 a month in just student loan payments at that point, because I had to start paying on them again since I had graduated in 2017. So we had to start paying on my student loans again. So we had over $1,000 just in the minimum payments for my student loans. We were paying off the credit card for our wedding before the 0% went away and whatever. So that was like our focus. So then we also got pregnant with my daughter. So we got pregnant with her at the end of 2018. So pretty shortly after we got married, we knew we wanted to have kids right away. I have an older son who was born way previous to this. He was born in 2014. So that's a whole other story for another day. But so we had a child already. He was 4 when we got married. And so we knew we wanted to have kids quickly because I didn't want there to be like a huge age gap and whatever. Were we in the best financial position to have more kids? Probably not. All that to say, we got pregnant with my daughter the end of 2018. She was born in July of 2019. So we had her in July, and I think I talked about this in my video last year. I did go back and rewatch my 1 and 2 year videos because I haven't watched them in a long time. I haven't watched my 1 year video since I filmed it. And then I haven't watched my 2 year video since I filmed it last year. So I went back and rewatched them, and it was interesting to watch. And I do share like a little bit of this background too, but I'm actually elaborating a little bit more because I felt like I didn't share the full story in those videos. So we had my daughter in July of 2019. I remember talking about this in my video last year where I had her and like immediately was like, what are we doing? Like we, at that point, had paid off like all of our wedding stuff. Like that was all gone. We pretty much just had my student loans. I think that was really what it was. And like maybe a little bit of like credit card float that like had been hanging around, but nothing like substantial. We weren't like paying interest on credit cards anymore or anything like that. But we had over $100,000 worth of student loans. And I was like, what the heck are we doing? We have a new baby. We have another child. We have 2 kids now. We have daycare, after school. We have over $1,000 a month in student loan payments. Like, what the heck are we doing? Like, I had like a crisis after I had my daughter because I was like, I don't feel like we know what we're doing. Like, this is just crazy. The end of 2019, we obviously just had my daughter. I was on maternity leave until I think it was like the end of October that I went back to work. And it was really at that time, like when I went back to work, that I was like, okay, we have to figure this out. Like we have to get in a better spot. Like this is just not okay for us to be in this like awful position with these little kids. And we wanted more for our life. We didn't want to be saddled with these huge monthly payments. Like we were like just spinning our wheels and weren't making any real financial progress or anything. So all that to say, that really was the catalyst of what started our final debt-free journey, I should say, because it wasn't our first, but it was our last. And we started our debt-free journey in January of 2020. I did not start sharing on social media until the end of 2020, but we had gotten a pretty good chunk through our debt at that point. And I knew that if I didn't share it or keep involved in the community, that I probably would give up because it was hard. It was really, really hard. And COVID was happening during that time too. Obviously, we started our journey in January of 2020 and COVID hit in March, and it was just really crazy. Those years were just, I feel like, a blur. And honestly, I think I do credit a lot of our success a little bit to COVID because our student loans, so the majority of my student loans were federal student loans. I did have about 30,000 of my 132,000 that were private. Having the forbearance and the no interest on the federal student loans when COVID started, and then for the next, however long until we paid off. So when we paid off my loans, we still didn't have the interest accruing or anything. But having that time, I think, really helped us to accelerate our payoff because we didn't have to pay interest or we didn't even have to make payments. So like during that first few months of 2020, we were focusing on my private student loan because my payments were higher, the interest rates were higher, there was no like federal protection on it. And so from like January through, I want to say June or so, we crushed out my private student loan. So we completely finished it. I remember when I was setting my goals for 2020, I was like, we just want to pay off like $5,000 of principal. And we had done that in like the first couple of months of 2020 because we were just like, okay, we are putting every penny to this. We are committing 100%. And I will say, like, it was a lot easier in the beginning because I feel like we were like motivated. I was like so just sick to my stomach about it that I feel like we were spending less money. We were really focused. I was like hustling my butt off, doing all these different things I could to make money. Like, it was crazy. We sold stuff around our house. Like, we were like truly dedicated. So that is what started our journey in 2020. I started sharing on Instagram, I think in October, and then YouTube in December, actually. So it is my 4-year anniversary on YouTube this month, which is crazy. But yeah, I've been sharing ever since. We shared our whole debt-free journey. If you guys want to go back and watch any of those videos, I have all of my videos still on here from debt payoff. So if you want to go back and rewatch some of those, I do sometimes periodically go back and watch them because honestly, it's interesting to me to see like the differences because it has now been 4 years since I started filming, and just going back even to like our monthly budgets, like our life has changed so much since doing those, and like our expenses have changed. So yeah, that's a little bit of the history. I apologize that was like a long overview of the history, but I did want to share a little bit more because I didn't fully share a lot of that history before. I don't think I've ever talked about some of that on my channel, so it might have been interesting to some of you guys that have been here to like hear the full history. But yeah, we started our journey again in 2020. We really focused on our debt payoff and just getting rid of these student loans once and for all. And I frequently get asked if I have any like regrets about paying off debt, or like if I would have done anything differently, or if I regret anything. And honestly, no, I don't. I do think that maybe we were a little bit too intense at times, but it also got us to the finish line faster. So I can't say that I necessarily regret it. What I would just say is if you have a long debt-free journey like we did, we were paying off debt for 2 full years, literally from January 2020, January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2021. So 2 full years we paid off over 130,000. Know that it's not always going to be able to be like motivating, because I feel like there was a lot of times in our journey that we lost motivation because it is so long. Like 2 years is a long time to be having to like grind and like hustle to pay off debt. And that's one of the reasons why I started sharing my journey on YouTube and Instagram, because I knew if I didn't, I would probably give up again. Because like I said, this wasn't our first debt-free journey. This was like our second, if not third. I mean, we had periodically been kind of like paying off debt casually before, but this was the one that stuck. And I really think that the reason that it stuck is because of the community, of the debt-free community, of just like immersing myself with like-minded people. Because I feel like in my real life, most of the people that I know in real life have debt. They have student loans, they have car loans, they have credit cards. Like, it is so normal in our society to have like a lot of debt. And I feel like because I was doing something that was so different, like a lot of people in my real life, either they didn't even know about it, because honestly, we didn't talk about it a ton in real life, but either they didn't know about it or like they weren't doing the same thing. So it was kind of like, well, why are you even doing that? Like, does it even matter? Like, you can just live with debt. Like, it's fine. So I just feel like it was so helpful to have this community. And for that, I would love to say thank you guys so much for being here. A lot of you guys have been here for the entire journey, which is crazy because it's been 4 years now. So it's crazy to think about, but it has been so helpful to me to keep the momentum also after debt payoff. That was one of the things I was most worried about, was like, what is my life going to look like after debt payoff? Because I didn't want to lose like the drive and the motivation to financially better ourselves just because we paid off debt. Like, we still had a long way to go. During our debt payoff, we did contribute to retirement, but it was like barely enough. It was enough to get the match from both of our employers, which was not a lot. And we were really behind on retirement, honestly, at that point. So then we kind of started with other financial goals. Another thing I wanted to talk about in this video is things that we have done since we paid off debt, because I feel like it can be really motivational to hear people who are debt-free talk about like what they've done since debt payoff, because it is things that we never would have been able to do had we not paid off our debt. So one of the biggest things that we've done is we bought this house that I'm sitting in now. We bought our first house in 2018 and we bought this house in 2022. We never would have been able to buy this house in 2022 had we not paid off my debt, because there's no way we would have been qualified to buy a more expensive house if we would have not paid off my debt. Like there's just no way. We would have had way too many minimum payments. Like our debt to income would have been too high. And so we bought a new house. We have bought 2 cars. One of them we bought during our debt-free journey. So if you remember in 2021, we actually did work on buying myself a new car because we just wanted something a little bit bigger because we actually were pregnant with my 3rd. We have 3 kids now. We knew we needed something bigger, that we would need something bigger for that. And so we did buy a larger car in 2021. My husband previously had a company car with the company that he was working with. He lost his company car in 2022, so that sucked. In like August, I think it was, of 2022, which is also conveniently the month we bought this house. So that was a whole nother thing. But yeah, we bought a car for him a few months later. We were actually a 1-car family for quite a while, but we've just been able to do so many other things. We've been saving for retirement really rapidly now. We have completely turned around our entire lives. Like our financial picture is so different than it was back in 2017. That's one of the reasons why I shared in this video, like my ring was put on a credit card, but now this many years later, what is that, 8 years later, we have a $600,000 net worth almost, and we have over $300,000 in retirement. We have no credit card debt. We have no student loans. I can't even believe that I'm saying that sometimes. Like I do feel like I get imposter syndrome sometimes when I talk about our own finances because I'm like, I can't believe that we've been able to do this. Like it's crazy. And sometimes because I share online, like I almost feel like I'm sharing someone else's story, even though it's mine. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, because I film things, like sometimes I feel like it's not real, but it is. Like it's my life. Like these are my real numbers and everything. But like, sometimes I feel like I almost have like an outsider perspective on my own finances because I film these type of videos and like talk about it in like 3rd person almost. But yeah, it's been amazing to like just think back at that and how far we've come with our finances and how much in a different spot we are in. And honestly, like I think back to like 2017 a lot because that's really the year that like our lives started together, my husband and I, and like when we really started like looking at our finances, period. And like we didn't even have a high yield savings account. Like I didn't even know what a high yield savings account was. Any like savings that we had during that time, which like was basically nothing, but like anything we did have, we just put into our regular checking, like bank savings, which was like 0.0001% or something. Like we didn't even know what a high yield savings account was. I get a lot of messages on Instagram that are just like, I don't even know anything about finances. Like, how do I start? And honestly, just start. I was totally there too. I didn't know what a high yield savings account was in 2017. I didn't know much about retirement. I didn't know what a Roth IRA was. I didn't open a Roth IRA until years later. I barely was contributing to retirement. We had credit cards. Like I was like in a horrible spot. And so when I talk to you guys that are reaching out to me and saying like, I feel like I'm so far behind, like just know that you can change that and you can impact it so heavily in just a few years. Now, obviously, my husband and I are very privileged. We have had a lot of career growth as well over the last few years, which has obviously helped. Like we make a good amount of money now. We are able to save a decent amount of our income because of that. But that has also, I feel like, really been because we've been paying attention to our money. I don't know if we would both be in the positions we're in, like financially with work, if we wouldn't, because we advocate for ourselves with finances at our workplace too. And I feel like the debt-free mindset has also like contributed in that way too. Like we advocate for ourselves to be getting raises consistently, to be getting the bonuses that we deserve, to be getting promotions that we deserve. Like we advocate for ourselves a lot. So I think that that has also helped. And I don't know that we would be doing that if we were just so content in like the regular life that we were in before. Like I truly feel like we are in a completely different lifetime than 2017. Like it is like crazy to think about because we are so different than we were back then. Another thing that I've talked about in these videos in the past is like my mindset on debt and like how I feel about debt in general. And I think that my mindset really hasn't changed from the last couple of years that I've talked about this. Like I do not want to get into debt again, if possible. I mean, we have a mortgage on our house. I should say that. Like a lot of people get like finicky when I say that I'm debt free and they're like, well, you have a mortgage. Like, well, yeah, Like we don't have $300,000 to pay off our mortgage right now. Eventually we would like to do that, but we do have a mortgage right now. I'm mostly talking about consumer debt. So like personal loans, car loans, credit cards. I don't see us ever getting back into debt for those things, honestly, because we have the ability to save for them at this point because we've reduced our expenses so much. And we have like the power of just having the knowledge to know that like you can just buy a car with cash. You can save up money and buy a car with cash. I swear to God, I didn't really know that before. My first car that I bought, like my first real car, I had, some like really awful, few $100 cars in like high school. But my first real car that I bought in college, I bought it brand new. I bought a 2012 Honda Civic, which was the car that I was talking about earlier in the video. I bought it brand new, literally brand new. I financed the entire amount. I think I put down $1,000. Like that just goes to show I truly did not think that there was any other way to do things than what I had been taught. And that was go buy a new car. You need a car. You need a reliable car. So you need a loan on that car. And I think I had financed like $16,000 or something for that car. Like I said, I think I put down like $1,000. Keep in mind, this was in 2012. So that makes me feel really old, but that's quite a long time ago. So cars weren't as expensive as they are today. But I bought a brand new car. Like I would never do that now. Like I can't see us ever buying a brand new car ever again. Like I really don't think we ever would. Like we prefer to buy used cars. We prefer to pay cash. Like I don't think we would ever get into debt again. Now, do I think that debt is like awful, evil, bad, horrible? No, I don't. I think that my mentality towards debt in general has also changed a little bit. I'm much more like flexible in my mindset with debt now. If we ever did need to get into debt for some reason, I would. Like I don't feel like I'm going to say that we're never going to be in debt again because I'm only 32. Like I have a long life ahead of me. And for me to sit here and say like, I'm never getting in debt again, like I will do anything, like that might not be reality. Like there could come a time where life changes. This year, if you guys have been on my channel for a while, you know that this year has been horrible for my family. I lost my sister extremely, extremely unexpectedly, literally like in a day, and she was gone. Earlier this year, that was in May. And I feel like that really shook me. And the way that I look at money now, I'm just like, it's such a life-changing experience that like it also impacted my thought. And then also my husband lost his job in the end of September. And both of those things happening so close together, like first of all, that really sucks. Like I feel bad for myself because it's been a really bad year. And just like those things happening so close together, it's like life is so fragile and short and like you never know what could happen. So can I sit here and say that we're never going to get in debt again? No, because I don't know that. I mean, things could happen where I would need to. And I feel like I don't view debt as negatively maybe as I once did. I feel like when I first started my journey, I was really like a Dave Ramsey fan. And I really did believe that like I would never be in debt again and that like I would do anything to not be in debt. And now I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. Now, not to say that like, again, I would prefer not to. Like I should say that. Like I still don't want to be in debt. But my mindset is definitely a little bit more flexible. And like I said, having these really awful things happen to me this year have also just really changed my mindset on finances. And I do feel like it has changed the way that I'll probably do things moving forward with our finances. Like, I don't think that we'll be as intense about our finances ever again, because when I lost my sister, I was like, what, like, it's like such a hard place to be in, because it's like, part of me wanted to be like, why am I even saving for retirement when you don't know that you're ever gonna make it? Like, my sister was healthy. She was healthy and happy, and nobody would have ever expected that her life would end in her early 40s. So it's kind of like, what am I doing? Like, what if I don't make it? Like, what, like, why am I killing myself to save for retirement that I might not have, or that my husband might not have? But at the end of the day, like, you also don't know that you won't have that. Like, so it's such a hard, like, place to be in. I feel like all year I've been like flipping back and forth of like, life's too short, and then like, but also like, I need to save for retirement, because like, what if we live till we're 95? Like, so I don't have the answer to that. And that answer can't be found in this video, because I don't know what the right answer is, but I do feel like I'm going to be trying to just be more balanced. I feel like, especially being on a debt-free journey for so long and like being so like hardcore on debt payoff, I was maybe a little bit too intense even after debt payoff. And I do want to focus more on like time with my family, time off of work, time doing things that I love, like, and not so much on like, I need to do this because I'm, you know, I really need to save for retirement or we're so far behind. Like, I do feel comfortable where we're at with retirement right now. So I don't think that we're going to be as like intense with savings as we have been maybe in the past years. But anyways, I'm looking at the time on this video and it's really, really, really long. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. In summary of this video, I am very happy that we got out of debt 3 years ago. And I'm incredibly thankful to myself back then and also to this community for pushing me to get there, because truly we wouldn't be where we're at without having that debt-free journey. And it truly has like impacted the entire rest of my life, my kids' lives. We talk so openly about money with our kids now. My kids know everything about our finances pretty much. They know how much our mortgage payment is. They know how much my husband and I make. Like, I am so transparent with them because I want them to learn and know. Like, my son is 10 and he knows what a Roth IRA is. I didn't know what a Roth IRA was until I was 27 probably. So I want to teach that to my kids, and that's what I have taken away mostly from this journey, is just sharing that education and sharing it here too. Oops, sorry, I just hit my camera with my foot. But yeah, just sharing it broadly, sharing it with you guys, and just having this community. So that's all I have for this video. Thanks for sticking around. If you made it all the way through, I really appreciate you guys being here, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye, guys.